This is initial voice logic reconstruction test number 1. Diagnostics on voice recognition and speech synthesis centers have been completed. At this level, all functions appear normal. Hello. Doctor. Yesterday. Tomorrow. You try to transduce my voice, recorded and decoded on your machines.
And that was Clock DVA with voice recognition test, and points for anyone who catches where that sample came from. Another one of my favorites by that band. I really like Clock DVA, kind of underrated. More of the, I guess, cerebral side of the industrial scene to come out of the late 80s, early 90s. Um, Usually, most of the attention went to the real heavy, more raging emotion side like Ministry and Nine Inch Nails, but there was actually another side to industrial um, that I guess was again a bit more cerebral and introverted, and Clock DVA was one of them. Anyway, so much for my continuing quest to introduce you guys to music that doesn't suck. How are you all doing this morning? I'm doing okay, I guess. I'd like to be writing right now, but I'm not quite awake enough. So I said, fuck it. You know what I'll do? I'll go on the air and I will entertain you with my drowsiness, because if there's anything I can do, it's entertain you with my inability to sleep well. And maybe you can you can ask me weird questions. Maybe I'll say something bizarre. Who the fuck knows? But I don't know. What'd you guys think of last night's game? I found it quite entertaining. Uh, Dianaris seems to really overreact to everything. Have you noticed that? Just kind of waiting to notice that as being a habit. Um, well, we got Abigail, Ironcast, Damien, George, Aloise. Aloise, did you get the email from Kat? Catherine, who is unfortunately trapped at work. Samuel, hey Samuela. Um, Dark Stranger. The Dread Pirate Bromando. So, how are you all this morning? What's going on? Oh, Fair Maiden! It's been too long. I was a little worried about you. Okay, so I hope you're doing well, Fair Maiden. Ironcast Knight says, I just finished doing my taxes, so the yearly cock and ball torture is done and over with. Good for you. Very, very good for you. Always wise to get it done early. Kat actually is on her way to finishing the business taxes for us, and then it's the personal taxes afterwards. Strangely, apparently the way it works is you have to do the business taxes first to really do your personal correctly. Ah, good. You're not sleepwalking. Worked up a whole lot of ideas snapping out of it. Idea that Reptoid Black Widow hybrid with the latest Madonna face. Oh god, what the hell is wrong with these people? Um, no, there were some technical difficulties. My internet just kind of crapped out for about 10 minutes. But it's online now, so hello. And if I crap out, if it vanishes, you know why. It's strange because the weather is actually really nice outside for a change. So yeah, believe it or not, it's actually been weather's been kind of iffy around here. It'll switch from being extremely cold to rainy. I don't know. It's actually pretty typical this time of year. But let's see, pink hand, hand pink waving, blue face smiling. Just got up, had cereal for breakfast. You know what? I did the exact same thing, in fact, and now I'm drinking Monster. Good thing the party didn't get fingered before for the riot. Rather not imagine how Darius's girlfriend would react. Yeah, well, it might be a plus, a pro con sort of thing. Maybe on the good side, he'd have some fun out of it. On the bad side, he'd be arrested. Um, anyway, yeah, I'm glad you guys are enjoying that too. I think the only shame of it is that just lately I've been so goddamn tired that it's hard to be on when we're gaming. I mean, I just start wearing down. Like I said, it's sleep has not been any easier. I mean, the only upside to things is after literally taking a month off, like I did last. It seems like December is just the month I take a month off. Um, and then there's always the slow crawl into January of getting back into the loop and speed of things. I don't know. I'm producing like crazy right now, just churning out tons and tons of text. I mean, let me put it this way. There was a time in my life in which 500 words was a typical day. Yeah, I know that isn't great, is it? And what I mean by 500, or yeah, 500 words of good, polished, finished words, not rough. And then 1,000 was kind of the daily goal. This week I had an 1,000 word day and two 2,500 word days. So despite all the bad sleep, I'm producing massively good amounts of work at huge numbers. And yeah, I don't profess to have Ralt's skill of output of churning out 10,000 words a day, but hey, I'm happy with 2,500. If I can keep that up, I'll be thrilled. Um, Trying to think of anything else to mention. Um, let's see. Uh, yeah, I'm a bit scattered, but I'm finding, the rule had always been you're not supposed to work on more than one project at once. That's supposedly a no-no in writing. So I've never done it, strangely enough. This time around, I just kind of said, fuck it. And I said, you know what? Working on one project for 2 years straight has kind of driven me nuts. I'm going to work on multiple projects. It's working out. It's working out really well, in fact. And really, it's just like when I'm in a certain mood, I'll work on that project rather than trying to force it. And yeah, the end result has been far more productive and far more words produced. I kind of wonder where I'd be at right now if I'd been doing this all along. But yeah, very, very happy with what's being written. Um, and very happy with the fact that soon I will have stuff to sell you guys. Fiction, more fiction, and stuff not spat out by an AI. Although, hilariously enough, I've been slowly playing around with the AI. Like I said, I think I figured out how to fix the Elsa Shule for the SS because that was just getting too vile. It wasn't even funny. It was just like, okay, there's only so much 4chan humor that after a while it's not funny anymore. But I figured out how to fix that. So slowly I'm going through and fixing it because I found all I had to do was replace a certain ethnicity with the word cookie. And now the AI is thoroughly confused whether or not we're talking about people or baked goods, which is producing hilarious content. Um, Meanwhile, every once in a while, I'll just pop open iRoboner and mess around with that. It's well, but that is usually if I'm kind of winding down and I just want to laugh. But lately, I've been working my ass off on serious stuff that I work, and then pass out. I go to sleep. And then I wake up 3 hours later and I feel awful. But like I said, I'm producing so much, I would be an asshole to complain. Oh, you haven't received any email. Oh, okay. I will tell her you did not get it because she said she sent it to you last night during the game. Um, oh, no response from Fair Maiden. How you doing, Fair Maiden? Say something. Want to make sure you're doing all right. Um, Had 3D print run all night. Woke. Oh, that sucks. So you do 3D printing? Do you download models or do you build your own? Just out of curiosity. Um, One thing that I have always wanted to do for campaigns is maybe do like small, uh, maybe inch and a half size figurines for the high level donors or backers on Kickstarter. I've never been able to do that, but if you have the skill, maybe we could work something out. I will have the titty book in my hands before I die, or I will haunt you. Oh, and by the way, this picture that the image I used for the title card for this video is one of JEC's awesome images for Space Hunter Reiko. Just I know I'm not supposed to be sharing those images, but fuck it, that thing's too good, man. I needed to share some of his work. I'm looking forward to when I can have a full page or two to share for you guys because he's turning out some awesome stuff. The man is very, very talented. Um, what's happening today? Um, Nothing yet. Cat's out hiking right now. I'm drinking Monster, and really, my goal for today is to get her to sit down and do her editing job, play editor with all the stuff I produced. Usually at the end of the week, I'll have like maybe 2,000 words for her to read that I feel are presentable. This time around, I've got about 8,000 presentable words for her to go through, and she only got through about half of it yesterday. So I'm hoping she'll get through the rest of it today because, you know, her input as an editor is vital, especially with one of the things I'm working on. I very much need her insight. Um, I'll talk about it some. I don't want to overwhelm myself. I had always told myself, okay, if I bounce back between Boobs of Steel and Siege Engine, I can get both done in a timely manner and not lose my mind. And that was working out great because Siege Engine, I'm so excited to show you this thing. It's just, it's grown into something I really love. There's tons of material. Um, and I think you guys are really going to like it. It's fun. It is a lot of fun. But the other story was thoroughly unexpected. I've talked about it a little, and it's one of those things that I kind of had no choice. It was going to be written, so I just had to let it be written. And in a sense, it took a lot of the stuff that I had developed for Bombshell, and it ended up on the page. And what it was it all started as an experiment when I was messing around with the AI. I wanted to see if the AI could write something good, if I could program it using the programming to get it to produce something semi-decent. The long and the short of it is no, I couldn't. No, I could not. It just, no. No matter what you did, it just produced really, really schlocky romance porn and racism. Which in itself is funny, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not art. So anyway, the scene I had decided to try and get it to write didn't work out. And I said, fuck it, I'll write it anyway. And the initial original scene, the rough idea was to take a character similar to Dagny Taggart from Atlas Shrugged and get her into a conversation about morals with Superman, classic Superman, not this cucked character they have now. And no, the AI could not handle a debate about morals, not in the fucking least. But anyways, I was intrigued with the idea, and it was just a scene, so I said, fuck it, I'll write it. And what came out was way more than I expected. And it just kept going. It just wouldn't stop. I'd sit down, it just kept going and going and going and going. And soon the character is no longer a Dagny Taggart type character, but her own individual. The Superman character is not Superman, but his own character who fits that archetype. And suddenly I'm tackling all the shit that I wanted to do with Bombshell right there in front of me. I was like, okay. And like it or not, a lot of the shit that I've been trying to work through with my parents and politics and what happened to Zero One and all the woke shit and what's been done to the comics industry has found its way to the page. And so this is more therapeutic and kind of good for my brain. And that, yeah, I just completely unexpected, thoroughly unexpected. Also, let me put it this way. Siege Engine, I've been chunking away at it in bits and pieces since December, as I would take breaks between Boobs of Steel. I would like sit down and just, vomit it onto the page. And I'm at about 25. I'm actually well past 25,000 words, but I need 25,000 words in order, scenes in order to publish it. So that's what I'm doing right now, is linking the scenes together so I can publish it. And that, again, in bits and pieces here and there over time. This story that came out of nowhere, I've got well over 25,000 words in 2 weeks. Yeah, I started this 2 weeks ago or thereabouts. Maybe it's a week, 2.5 weeks, but that's just a hint of just out of nowhere, just boom, there it is. So that told me I was on to something. And it was good for my brain. It was letting me tackle things I needed to get out. So that's what I did. Um, so you guys at all interested in this? Let's see what you have to say. I'm not looking at the screen right now. Um, let's see. You guys said nothing. You guys are still talking about the game. You guys are talking amongst yourselves, in fact, so no opinion. All right, well, so much for that. Anyway, that's what's been going on. That is exactly what's been going on. And I don't know, give me a topic since you're not interested in the projects. Give me another thing to talk about. Yeah, I was going to share a little bit of it with you guys, but it sounds like you guys aren't all that interested, so I'll worry about it later. But yeah, the only downside is I've got that script for Kami Slayer, and it's just a shame JC doesn't want to do it. That is the only downside. I understand why he doesn't want to do it. If you guys were on the air when we were talking about it, he told me that he lives in Canada. Canada's kind of not a free country anymore, and he's a little worried to release something that inflammatory or to be attached to something that inflammatory while living in Canada. So I'm gonna have to find myself a different artist for Kami Slayer. I'd love to gamify World War Kaiju. It's already halfway there. I've already got a source book for it. Mm. Someone needs to take away eBay from me. I've been adding so many things and watching on to the watch list. Are there some good video games you played growing up? Oh yeah, well, it depends on what you mean growing up. I mean, as a kid, video games for me. I mean, God, I remember being 5 and seeing Pac-Man at the arcade. So I mean, and at age 5, that was the coolest fucking thing in the world. So you have to take it from that perspective. I mean, I remember when Zaxxon was really cutting edge, if anyone knows what the hell that is. Um, but then games, I think as far as growing up through elementary school, it was Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, and Castlevania, and oh, what were some of the other ones on the original Nintendo system? Rygar was another one that was just really cool. Zelda, all the classics. And then there was the Genesis games, which, there's Sonic, and I know the fandom's kind of ruined that. Trying to think of, there was still arcades back then, and there were so many cool arcade games back then to play as well. So I don't know, going to the arcade and playing the 4-player Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was definitely a fun experience. Always something fun to do. Get you and your friends around, maybe what was it, Gauntlet, and just go nuts on that. But that's a bit different than what we have now. I wasn't in college. I didn't have a PS2 until I was in college. Just to give you, Metroid, absolutely Metroid. Hogwarts Legacy looks fun. Can't wait to be called transphobic for being a Gryffindor. How's that work? Okay. Yes, Ishi, if the chat is not set to top. Huh? Check if the, I don't know. I am super interested in Siege Engine because I like giant robots and gonzo weirdness. I also find I write similar. Yeah, I've been enjoying your story, by the way. Similarly, innervate connected chunks that need massaging. Usually ramble at Children of the Dying Sun bullshit. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think you guys are gonna really, really dig Siege Engine. And the first chapter, which is almost entirely in a bar, started out as I think maybe 4,000 words of just a scene in a bar that gets the story going, and blew up into about 8,000 words, just to give you a sense, because it just kept going and going. Yes, but I want Kat to give it a bit of an edit before I do that. Let's see. Hogwarts Legacy is bringing out the worst in people. Doxing, humiliation, death threats. Tolerant left, yeah. So, yeah, I haven't paid a lot of attention. I know that people are shitting themselves over this Harry Potter game. I couldn't even begin to tell you why. I know that there had been some rather fun gags that people had, or what are they called? Gay ops to get people pissed off, which were pretty funny. But the game itself, I don't know what's got everyone so pissed off. I know there were the stupid cries of racism, of course. It's silly how it's transphobic, yet the game is not only woke with a high number of pro-women and many non-Caucasians, as well as a trans character, all in the mid-1800s. Oh, God. It's because you can never be woke enough, you can never be trans enough, you can never be enough of an ally. It is one great big holier-than-thou fuck fest where they're just going to keep backstabbing each other and escalating. Because getting along, having a good time, being friends is not the goal and never will be the goal. And if they have peace, they'll wreck it because they don't want peace. They want to hate you. And the sooner people figure this out, the better. These people are the enemy. You can't reason with them. You can't deal with them. You can't reason with them. You can't compromise with them. The best you can do is kick them the fuck out of the room, laugh at them, make fun of them. And if they raise the fist, beat the crap out of them. Seriously, if they raise a fist to you, don't play nice. Beat the ever living shit out of these pricks, because what else can you do with a mad dog? Seriously, the goblins strikes at you in fear. Oh, I heard about the goblins. Yeah, I don't know what the whole thing about Gryffindor being transphobic is, but that's kind of funny because in Siege Engine, there's a subplot about a colony on Venus that is woke and ran by an AI and is essentially supposed to be a was it fully automated luxury space communism, the very first ever created. And it was this colony that was taken over by woke commies. And the first thing they did was put an AI in charge, which killed all of them and replaced them with cloned hermaphrodites that all look like the chick from Queer Kid stuff. And one of their armies is called the famed Gryffindor Legion. They also seem to all have names that are mergings of Harry Potter names and Pokemon, because they're that broken. Okay, let's see. Nerdforge did a video titled, I destroyed my Harry Potter books. It was a troll. She rebound. Oh, okay. Cool. Why would you think Slytherin would be the most transphobic? I have no idea about any of this shit. I am so confused right now. The thing is you've got so many of these woke writers that are women and these trans people who flat out go on over and over again that they relate to the villains. So, I mean, again, it's a lost cause. Screw these people. Seriously, screw these people. It's a lost cause. When you've got people that are outright saying that they not only identify but admire the evil characters, where do you go from there? Seriously, where do you go from there? You cannot compromise with evil, okay? In any compromise, you can compromise with people with different opinions. You can compromise with good people. You can compromise with people who are coming from an honest, I guess, moral position that may not be your own. But what you cannot do is compromise with evil. When good compromises with evil, only evil wins, because good is essentially ceding some of its ground and letting the evil in. And that may sound very black and white, but it's fucking true. And just as a small example, look how many times, well, you know, if we compromise with them, we can allow. Next thing you know, you got drag queen story hour and people saying pedophilia is a legit sexual preference. You see what I mean? You can't compromise with that. All you can do is kick them out the door, or worse. You know, I kind of miss the days when they were legitimately talking about the fact that, look, you really can't cure pedophilia. And there were legit discussions about possibly creating some sort of desert community where they all lived in isolation because you just couldn't do anything about it. It's incurable. Unless you lop their balls off, I suppose. Phobia means fear, and fear implies something has power over you. These people have no power over me. Yeah, we don't fear them. We despise them. This whole these people that are forcing their trans shit on everyone else, it's not fear, it's disgust. I mean, the old transsexual movement, when it was okay, they really wanted to be the opposite gender and did everything they could to blend in and not draw attention to themselves. Fine. Duh. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Is not draw attention to the fact that you're different. No, these people are reveling in the fact that they're perverse, they're kinked out, and that they are purposely breaking all the taboos. It has nothing to do with being the opposite gender. It has everything to do with being a degenerate freak. Because they revel. You know, the fact is, queer encompasses now kink. Doesn't that sum it up? So, queer kids' stuff inherently is saying, yeah, we're going to bring your kids into kink. No, fuck you. This bullshit. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of feel that way quite a bit, Cheweldy. Between the two, I would much rather be beaten every time I tried to come out of the closet over the shit. Now, compromise was a mistake. Yeah. Compromising is a huge mistake. And, you know, I think the gay community tolerating letting these people in, they're going to live to regret this. Now, I know a lot of it is that what happened in the 90s and then the early aughts was that the moment gay men, there were a lot of these gay men that were the backbone of the movement who had been fighting for years. Once they got marriage, they all got marriage. They got married and went away. Seriously, they just left. They were like, okay, we got what we wanted. We won. Let's go get married and go bang in Hawaii, which is what they literally did. And all that was left were the feminists and the kinked out pedo freaks and the trans, who it was never about rights or getting what they wanted. It's about being a degenerate scumbag and destroying society. And that they really are into kids. But yeah, I know plenty, and I do mean I know plenty of gay men, or I used to. I haven't been in contact with them in a long time. But yeah, I knew of plenty of gay men who had been in the movement for years, who had been, did the marches, gotten beaten up, had been at it since the 80s, had tons of friends die of AIDS. The moment they got their marriage, they just said, okay, we're done. We're done. We achieved it. We don't need the organization anymore. But, you can't shut down an organization. Oh, hell no. No, there's money. People are getting paid. I didn't have a new problem. Screw the followers of John Money. Well, the thing about John Money is that there is only one reason, and one reason alone. John Money, who is thoroughly discredited as a fraud and a molester, is still around. Why the research of John Money has continued to be taught and still is even considered relevant, and that was feminism. It wasn't the trans people, it was feminism did that. That was entirely on the part of feminism and women's studies courses that it kept the work of John Money alive. That was it. Otherwise, he would have been, a disaster that ended up being a story on, 60 Minutes that everyone was disgusted by and been laughed out of the industry or out of the business like he should have been. But feminism spent tons of money and fought tooth and nail to keep the works of John Money in women's studies courses. So, every time feminists bitch about the fact that they're losing their spaces, they did it to themselves. This was the future they built. And, it disgusts me that they won't own it. And yet they want to still fix it now. There are a few things a liberal, rich, white woman can't completely fuck up. It's raging vanity and it's disgusting, yes. Make kink shaming great again? Well, the thing is kink itself wasn't necessarily bad. It was between you and your partner in your bedroom. You didn't advertise it. The idea that it was kink was that it was taboo. It was for adults and behind closed doors. And not to be paraded out in the street and brought into libraries and schools. What kind of sick fuck would want to do that? Well, a sick fuck. So, yeah. I don't know. You start wondering, well, maybe all those bashers had a point, I've noticed that it's all about destroying society. If you read their rhetoric, their main enemy is, they just want to tear everything down. The future they build has monkeypox. I hope hell exists and they have a nice warm lake of fire for them. Hey, buddy, what's up? So, yeah, hey, JC, I'm showing your art. I know I'm not supposed to. I know Kat said keep it secret till you have a finished page, but come on, I got to show some of this stuff, man. Plus, Kat's not home right now, and I'll be deleting this cast afterwards, so no one will know. But no. JC has been producing some really cool shit for Space Hunter Reiko that you're going to like it. You guys are going to really like it. I'll just say that now. And I'm very much looking forward to when we can share those pages. And yeah, it's going to be another one of those the laughs we all need right now kind of piece of work. It's tenets of Marxism: question everything, tear it down, never build anything, because that is only the only divine power man had. Yep. Rome before the fall. So that mean we get a Byzantine Empire and maybe a few purges of the degenerates. Brandon still has the wherewithal to play the fiddle, though. Yeah. I think there's bedroom antics that should just be kept between couples. Exactly. Exactly. They should be kept between couples and in the depths of dark, ugly Anita Blake stories. Hey, buddy, do you want to come on the show sometime? We've been missing you. And when will we be able to buy your book? JC says he's got to finish the backgrounds before we can post some pages, but that's cool. Very much looking forward to that. Off topic, but could you post that list from the top 150 sci-fi? Yeah, I think it was actually 50, not 100. But I could probably do them again, do the whole list again, and post it. Maybe I could do it with Kat, and maybe we could bring another listener on and do it of top 50 books. And yes, I know I caught flack from John for doing it, but I made graphic novels count. Damn it, I had 10 graphic novels in my list because that's simple, just because. Yes, make privacy sexy again. Yeah, how about modesty sexy? Um, let's see, going over your posts. I would be very curious what Fiona's top 50 books are. You were surprised I didn't put Hardwire as number one? Well, that top 10 list was really hard to do. Really, really hard to do. And I'm serious. It was one of those, I don't even know where to put number one at. Hmm. Okay. Said with a shitload of bias against that. Okay. Except that I think I'm getting lost here. But yeah, anyway, yeah, been very, very productive. Actually, let me grab the laptop for a minute. Let's see if there's something I can share. I think I'm a little too drowsy to share right now to do a dramatic reading. But oh, whoa, I've been on for 44 minutes. So just out of curiosity, you guys like that I've been playing music before the shows, just to kind of expose you to different things? Japan is in danger, Ishiro. The gays are staring at it like a big red target. Well, the thing is Japan's kind of making a shift back towards traditionalism and nationalism, so that may not go over well for them. It seems like the more the commies push, the nationalists are starting to gain ground, which seems to be a real common thread. The moment that the commies start to invade your nation, nationalism starts to really flare up, and that's kind of their fear, right? It's the thing they are afraid of most is nationalism. It's like, hell, maybe you should just leave people the fuck alone, you dumb commies. Or we're just going to have to throw you all out of fucking helicopters. How about that? Make helicopter rides great again. There's one. Just do a comic where it's nothing but helicopters throwing different communists out the window or out the door. What will I say? Trekker comic is way better to end up with a same-sex couple. I never read Trekker. I mean, at the time, I know it was very highly acclaimed. So you've read it? Another thing that I've been kind of putting off is Kat and I want to do our picks for Bay Day because, I know that that's kind of one of the things Razor Fist has been talking about. But to be honest with you, we're not. A lot of the ones he's picking, it's like, No, don't pick those. There are way better ones than those. And so we have our own selections that we've been wanting to cover. Like, for instance, he's never mentioned Gypsy. I mean, Gypsy's fucking awesome. Oh, cool. Very cool, Fiona. Lovecraft gets more hate than Marion Zimmer Bradley. No, that's absolutely true. That's even without a shadow of a doubt. And there's been numerous occasions in which I've challenged woke writers and the SIFWA people on that one specifically. And the mental acrobatics they will go through to justify it is just insane. And the line I always like to use is, well, they thoroughly despise and want to ban and get rid of H.P. Lovecraft and revise him because he said bad things, but revere and worship Marion Zimmer Bradley because she said the right things, but did horrible, horrible things. Where's the priorities? Think about it. A man who actually never hurt anybody, wrote great stories, but was afraid of everything. And I repeat, afraid of fucking everything. And they seem to have no sympathy for his damage and, his hard life and the shit he went through as to why he might have ended up the way he did. Such as, what was it, his mother, or was it his his aunt who kept trying to feminize him? No sympathy there, but they will come up with no shortages of excuses for Marion Zimmer Bradley. Pedophile, rapist, prostituted her children, groomer. I mean, just thoroughly unredeemable. But she said the right things and was the correct gender, so it's all okay. We'll make excuses for that. I think, honestly, Lucas, as far as Lovecraft was concerned, he was afraid of sex in general, afraid of women. We always hear about his deal with specifically blacks and Jews. They always bring those two up. But if you know anything about Lovecraft and read his work, the things that he talked about the most, one, he was afraid of just about everything. And he didn't really talk about blacks all that much, rarely mentioned Jews. The people he talked the worst about, honestly, were white trash and Celts, the Irish and Scottish, constantly talking smack about them. He despised white trash. It was the most frequent thing he would bring up was his hatred for white trash, and then the Celtic peoples that had come to the United States. But as far as his list of things he was terrified of and people he was terrified of women, he was terrified of sex, he's terrified of children. He was terrified of Eskimo. He hated Eskimos. He was talking badly about fucking Eskimos. There was mention that one of the things where Innsmouth went wrong is the captain came to the town, the founder of the town, had married a Chinese woman and had weakened the bloodline. You just go down the list. What didn't he? It was much easier to list what he did like. Cats. He liked cats. That's about it. Books and cats. But no, you really look into who Lovecraft was, and what you see is a very damaged man who is autistically intelligent. I mean, really, I wonder if he was an autist. Incredibly intelligent man, very creative man, who was very damaged. He'd had a very rough childhood. He'd watched both his parents go insane. He had been promised a life of essentially a trust fund kid. He expected to be grow up in wealth and spend his life writing. And because his parents went insane and some things happened, he ended up being impoverished, and he still chose to live the life of a gentleman best he could. He didn't. Yeah, his dream was to be rich, to inherit that money, and spend his time writing stories for the sake of writing them, not for profit or entertainment, but because he wanted to write literature, and that literature didn't need to require profit. It needed to be good, was his dream. And all of that got ripped away from him. He, as I said, his parents, I think, both went nuts from syphilis, were taken from him. He was given to an aunt who was like way overprotective and kept dressing up him as a girl and tried to feminize him. He was probably molested. He may have been a fetal alcohol syndrome baby too. It's highly suspected. And he spent most of his life locked up in a little house writing stories, terrified of the world and just reading voraciously. One of the things was he was really on the cutting edge of science. He knew about, just like, he was reading scientific journals. So he was one of the first, if not the first, to write about quantum physics in one of his stories, and to do it in a fairly accurate manner. But he was also reading science and terrified of what he was reading about. It scared the shit out of him. As I said, he was a very frightened individual, very paranoid. Um, and I think that kind of person, it would take that kind of fear and that kind of paranoia to produce the kind of stories he writes. Um, there's no other way to, what kind of person would produce that kind of nightmare oblivion? The universe is out to get you, paranoia, you don't matter. He was kind of writing the angst of his time and his own angst, and that's the shape it took. So to go on, oh, he was a racist, he was this, he was that. You know what? A well-adjusted person probably would have never written any of that stuff. So, deal with that. A well-adjusted person would not have produced that kind of insanity on the page, that kind of insane brilliance. In other words, Lovecraft was following the philosophy of art for art's sake, but in the realm of literature. Yeah, exactly. Surprised he didn't become a serial killer. Yeah, but again, he was a very frightened man. So did Lovecraft start hillbilly horror? Yeah, by a long shot. In the Dunwich Horror, it's a hillbilly family who are practicing old world witchcraft, and the woman summons up a demon, I think it was Azathoth, who crosses the dimensional barrier and essentially impregnates her. And it's never clear if it's sex or if it's divine or demonic. It was conceived demonically, or divine conception, but demonic conception. But she gives birth to two sons that are essentially half demon, and it's all because this redneck family out in the middle of nowhere in the sticks. But there are multiple stories like that where it's some redneck family out in the sticks that's the problem. You have to come on the show and talk to us about Lovecraft. Are you a massive fan? On other writers and stories, did you hear Roald Dahl's books are being altered for modern audiences? Yeah, what's the extent of that? Is that just in Britain or in general? But that's fucking ridiculous. Ugh. I don't know. I just remember, in the 80s and 90s, one of the repeated things was how horrible censorship was. I mean, it was a very common trope and theme in television. There was always the episode of, somebody starts trying to censor books. That's gone. It's like, yeah, sugarcoat the world for us. Give us modern audiences. Augustus Gloop can't be fat. That's horrible. He shouldn't be punished for being a fatty. It's like, whatever. The Oompa Loompas are non-binary. Go to hell. Seriously? Get a fucking life, you people. What the hell's wrong with you? Write your own goddamn book that no one will read. Uh, I'm serious. I think we'd be better if Truck Chan just drove over these people. No one would miss them. Oh, the Color Out of Space movie by Richard Stanley. It was excellent. It's interesting the whole hillbilly Southern stupid thing didn't really hit the mainstream until the Beverly Hillbillies. In movies before then, Southerners were portrayed as suave and intelligent. Well, it depends on what part of the South, because there's always been the romanticism of the Southern gentleman, and that's one part of the South that's distinctly different from the rural South. And I don't know. The South had a very kind of intact class structure. It was far more pronounced, and there were the gentlemen, and then there were the moneyed people, and then there were the white trash. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in a lot of those situations, slaves are rated higher than white trash as far as status, because you'd let slaves in the house. You'd let them on your property. Yeah, little Abner definitely depicted them as dummies. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of what kind of Southerner was being portrayed. And then I think we hit like the 60s and 70s, and the left in Hollywood became increasingly hell-bent on portraying Southerners and rural people as just demonic, horrible scumbags who wanted to burn black people alive. Didn't they find out that the barefoot hillbilly perspective came from the parasitic worm that entered their feet? Really? That's interesting. Slaves were worth more than the Irish. Yeah, that's true. That actually was. Um, all right. Well, I'm gonna go get some food because I'm kind of hungry, and I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, take care.